Hello viewers, I'm your host Uzma Jaffrey with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show with India, which has shown a sense of responsibility and urgency in dealing with the issue of climate change, which it committed itself to in Paris Agreement in 2015.
India joined a club of select few countries to run trains on alternative fuel when Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu inaugurated the country's first solar-powered diesel electrical train in New Delhi. The 1600 horsepower diesel electric multiple unit, 6-coach train is fitted with 16 solar panels on each of the carriage, traveled from Delhi's Sarai Rohila to Karhi Harsara Junction in India's northern Haryana state.
कि हमारे रेल में पूरी मात्रा में हम लोग क्लीन फ्यूल की तरफ हमारी पूरी फ्यूल पॉलिसी फ्यूल मिक्स को बदलाव देंगे। उसी को ध्यान में रखते हुए आज सोलर फायर्ड ट्रेन अभी यहाँ से डेमो ट्रेन चलेगी और उसका लाभ बड़ी मात्रा में रेल को भी होगा, समाज को भी होगा, देश को भी होगा।
The solar-powered train is in sync with India's ambitious Paris Climate Agreement and also meets rules of Make in India initiative as it has been built indigenously. The train will reduce about 21,000 litres of diesel consumption and carbon dioxide generation by 9 tons per coach every year, which will lead to saving of $18,668 every year. In an initiative taken by the Gujarat state government, residents who choose to set up solar panels on their rooftops will be entitled to subsidies. The government will give a subsidy of $155 for commissioning a unit of 1 kilowatt and of $310 for a unit of 2 kilowatts. Narendra Kumar Gupta, a resident of Vadodara city, has a 2 kilowatt unit installed at his home. He is one of the many residents who have turned to solar power to bring down their electricity bills and reap the benefits of a government scheme.
2 किलोवाट का मैंने लगवाया है, तो मेरा ये पर डे अप्रोक्सीमेट 10 यूनिट जैसा होता है जनरेट। तो उसमें मुझे क्या है कि अपना बिल में मेरे को फ़ायदा होता है। जो मेरा इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बिल आता है उसमें है कि जितना मैंने जनरेट किया है और जो मैंने यूज़ किया उसमें प्लस माइनस होके मुझे एक तो जनरेशन उसमें इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बिल में फ़ायदा हुआ, दूसरा इसमें मुझे क्या सब्सिडी भी मिली थी, तो उसका भी मुझे है क्या जो कॉस्टिंग आया जो एग्जीक्यूशन का वो भी कम हुआ, और बाकी क्या है कि जो अपना पॉल्यूशन वगैरह जो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड वगैरह जो रहती है उससे भी है क्या फ़ायदा ही होता ही है।
Manager of a local solar power company, Amit Sharma, claims to have installed solar panels in 350 to 400 houses in Vadodara alone since the scheme's launch.
रिस्पांस की अगर बात करते हैं तो इनिशियल फेज में जब योजना लागू हुई थी उस समय से ही रिस्पांस बढ़ना स्टार्ट हो गया था, बट आज का अगर समय देखें और जब योजना लागू हुई थी ये पिछला अगर 1 साल हम देखें तो ट्रमेंडस चेंजेस हैं। अभी सारे घरों में की अगर मैं बात करूं तो बड़ौदा शहर की अकेले की बात करूं तो करीब 350-400 घर में हम लोग खुद अभी तक लगा चुके हैं।
The rapidly fallen cost of solar power has ignited interest in its potential in Asia's third largest country, which relies on coal for 3/5 of its energy needs, while solar supplies less than 1%.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has set a target of raising India's renewable energy generating capacity to 175 gigawatts by 2022 as part of the fight against climate change. Moving on, the United States has listed Pakistan among the nations and regions providing safe havens to terrorists. In its annual country report on terrorism, US said that the terror groups like the Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed continue to operate, train, organize and fundraise inside the country. We have a report.
Pakistan has again been exposed as a hotbed of terrorism. The US State Department's country report on terrorism 2016 blamed Pakistan for harboring terrorist groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Haqqani Network, Hizbul Mujahideen and many more. Operating under the patronage of Pakistani establishment, the sole aim of these terror groups is to destabilize peace and harmony in neighboring India and Afghanistan. Dreaded terrorists like Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar, who are accused of separate organized attacks on Indian sovereignty, are bred, funded, trained and armed by the Pakistan's intelligence agency ISI and the Pakistan military. United States of America, which has always provided monetary and arm assistance to Pakistan, feels cheated after Islamabad failed to contain the terrorism inside its territory. Recently, Syed Salahuddin, the head of Hizbul Mujahideen, who is responsible for carrying out attacks on Indian soil, was declared a specially designated global terrorist by the US.
The Pentagon has withheld tens of millions of dollars remaining in military aid to Pakistan after Defense Secretary Jim Mattis decided that Islamabad was not taking enough action to counter the Taliban-affiliated Haqqani network. My colleague Durgesh Bhadoria spoke to Ajay Sahni, an expert on counter-terrorism and South Asia, regarding the recent political development regarding Pakistan.
Mr. Sahni, in its annual country report on terrorism, the US Department of State has said that groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed continue to operate, train, organize and fundraise inside Pakistan. What significance do you see of this report, and do you think that Pakistan stands exposed today on the global platform?
Only effective indictment of Pakistan would have to come from the Department of Defense. The Secretary of Defense would have to tell Congress, the US Congress, that Pakistan is not complying with its commitments to end terrorism. It is only if the Department of Defense and the Secretary of Defense give such a testimony to Congress that aid to Pakistan would actually stop.
Do you believe that China, which has become an all-weather friend of Pakistan in recent history, should take cognizance of the matter and should refrain from engaging too much in the Pakistan issues?
You see, I mean, all this is wishful thinking. China should do this, China should do that. China will do what it wants. China sees a potential colony in Pakistan. That is China's long-term objective, to gradually make inroads into Pakistan, eventually alter the demographics of Pakistan so that there is a very, very strong Chinese presence over there, exploit its economic resources, and essentially over time colonize the entire state.
Now let's talk about Sindh, where people are demanding an independent state. They are also demanding the release of their political activists abducted by the Pakistani army and its spy agency, the Inter-Services Intelligence. We have a report.
Hundreds of activists of the Chasing Mudahira Mahaz, a Singh-based nationalist party, recently took to the streets in Hyderabad demanding a separate state of Singh Tutesh. They also saw the release of Singhi political activists updated over the last few years. Protesters carried banners and placards that call on the United Nations, international community and human rights organizations to take note of what they term Pakistani occupation of the province and acts of fascism, state torture, atrocities, besides exploitation of the region's rich natural resources. Police and Pakistan Rangers Battalion charged the protesters and fired tear gas shells to disrupt the march. More than 100 JSMM activists were arrested. Exiled JSMM chairman Safi Purfat condemned the use of force against the protesters. He said Sindh was an independent nation and they are fighting for its liberation.
1772 में गुलाम शाह कल्लोड़ों ने मुतयन की थी सिंध की, जिसको हम सिंधु देश कहते हैं। उस सिंध की आज़ादी के लिए हम जदोजहद कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि हम लोग एक कौम हैं और हमारी सियासी जदोजहद और कौमी मज़ाहमत आलमी तौर पर जो हमारे इत्तेहादी और दोस्त कुव्वतें हैं, उनसे मिलकर हम सिंधु देश को ज़रूर आज़ाद करवाएंगे।
Known for its distinct culture, Sindh has Pakistan's second largest economy, with Karachi being its capital. However, there have been many cases of political persecution in the province. According to an estimate, over 100 nationalists have been abducted since 9/11. Many of them fell victims to extrajudicial killings and their mutilated and pillaged ritual bodies were dumped in the streets. Sindhi political activists accuse Islamabad of fueling sectarian violence and terrorism in the region. There have been numerous incidents of forceful conversion of Hindu cults and attack on other minorities.
There have been allegations that the Pakistani army and ISI have repeatedly abducted, detained and tortured Sindhi political activists. To speak more on this, we are now joined by Dr. Hidayat Bhutto of World Sindhi Congress. Dr. Bhutto, there are reports of persecution of Sindhi people in Pakistan. What is the real situation there?
People are is getting worse and worse. Situation is getting worse and worse in Sindh, and every day, every month, we are receiving mutilated bodies, harassment of the political workers, disappearances of the political workers, and there's a huge atmosphere of fear they have created, and persecution is going high and high because they think and they feel that their culture, their language, their heritage is against their ideology. We challenge these two-nation theory and two-nation ideology of Pakistan, and we think that Sindh is a separate nation, and separate nation has a right to self-determination, and Sindh has been a separate country over the centuries, and we think that Sindh has a right to return their sovereignty and their independence, and that's why these atmosphere of fear they are creating to maximize the colonized Sindhi people, and now they are converting us in our own homeland into minorities.
The Sindh region is known for its vibrant culture and language. Do you believe that the Sindhi identity is in danger?
Because culture is we think is a safe level, or our language is protecting us, is just like a protecting bond, which is our language, our culture, our poetry is providing us. And they are attacking our language, our culture, our heritage, and they are closing Sindhi schools everywhere, and they are propagating Urdu language, and they are forcing us Urdu language over us to basically they think that Urdu language is an Islamic language and Sindhi language is a non-Islamic language, but we think that Sindhi language is a language which is a historic language, and Sindhi should be a national language, and even in British rule, Sindhi was a national language. Even a British employer, English employer, when he was used to come and employ in Sindh, it was mandatory for him to learn Sindhi. But when Pakistan existed, immediately they started closing these schools because they feel fear from Sindhi language.
Thank you, Dr. Bhutto. Moving on, now we meet a group of girls from war-torn Afghanistan who won silver for courageous achievement at an international robotics contest in the United States after the host rejected their visas twice. The judges praised the group's can-do attitude.
It is a moment of pride for these 6 Afghan girls as they have won a silver medal at the robotics competition.
We are so happy we attended to this competition. I can say our freedom to you now. With words we can say, describe our feeling.
Ivanka Trump, daughter and advisor of the president, met the teams of international robotics competition in Washington, D.C. and congratulated them for their good work. The Afghan team competed with teams from 157 nations in the first annual robotics competition hosted by First Global. The 6 students from Afghanistan's Herat province were chosen from an initial pool of 150 applicants. The girls were denied US visas twice before President Donald Trump intervened at the last minute. Despite a delay in the shipment of the robotics kit, the Afghan team built a robot in 2 weeks, while their counterparts from other nations had 4 months to do the same. Members of the team said they saw the competition as a chance to help improve conditions in Afghanistan where women and girls often face significant limitations in public and private life.
کشور افغانستان کشوریه که همیشه در او جنگ و در او یعنی کشوری که دختران نمیتونن در او پیشرفت کنن. این که ما پیشرفت کنیم خیلی یک چیز بزرگیه که ما تونستیم دخترها بتونیم داخل از این رقابت شرکت کنیم، خیلی پیشرفت بزرگی برای کشور ما.
60% of the teams that took part in the competition were led by women. Of the 830 teen participants, 209 were girls. In total, there were 6 all-girl teams, not only the Afghan squad, but also teams from the US, Ghana, Jordan, the Palestinian territories, and the Pacific island nation of Vanuatu.
The participation of Afghan girls at the robotics competition will encourage other girls in the war-torn nation to pursue their interests. Moving on. United Nations has sought an explanation from Sri Lanka over government's slow progress in tackling war crimes committed by the Sri Lankan army during the 26-year-old civil war that ended in 2009. We have a report.
On May 2009, Colombo declared the victory of Sri Lankan forces over Tamil Tigers, and the movement was hailed and termed as the beginning of a new era of peace and development for Sri Lanka. However, there are thousands of horrific tales of war crimes, including violence, killings and other brutalities, which didn't surface in the public domain or were deliberately concealed. It was only after the United Nations took cognizance of the matter that the world came to know about tens of thousands of innocent civilians being tortured, killed and displaced during the course of war. UN has since then asked for an extensive probe into the matter and has sought prosecution of the guilty. Despite a strong resistance by the Sri Lankan government, United Nations Human Rights Council in March 2014 authorized an international investigation into the alleged war crimes. When Sri Lankan government sought more time after it failed to meet the initial deadlines, a UN Human Rights Council resolution in October 2015 granted Sri Lanka 18 months to establish a credible investigation into abuses committed during the island's decades-long ethnic war.
Yet, 2 years on, and already 4 months into a 2-year extension granted to the government by the Human Rights Council, progress in achieving the key goals set out in the resolution is not only slow, but seems to have ground to a virtual halt. None of the measures so far adopted to fulfill Sri Lanka's transitional justice commitments are adequate to ensure real progress, and there is little evidence that perpetrators of war crimes committed by members of the Sri Lankan armed forces are being brought to justice.
Sri Lankan government has repeatedly been accused by the ethnic Tamils for protecting the criminals. United Nations believe that there is no dearth of the competence in the investigation team, but they are being obstructed by some political forces.
I have no doubt about their genuineness or about their commitment in principle to being able to deliver that package. The question is whether those who seek to obstruct them, and we all know who they are, if those who seek to obstruct them are prevented from enabling that timetable to be met.
Sri Lanka has assured a transparent investigation into the war crimes. However, outcomes are unlikely to come out in the near future.
War crimes are prohibited by the Geneva Conventions, of which Sri Lanka is a signatory. To talk more on this, we are now joined by former Indian Ambassador to Sri Lanka, N.N. Jha. Mr. Jha, do you think Sri Lankan government is complicit in the slow progress made in the investigation of war crimes committed during the civil war?
You see, the previous government of Sri Lanka, just before President Sirissena's government, was going very slow on it because they had something to be to hide. There were reports of 40,000 people being killed just at the end of the war, and so on and so forth, and so they were worried. The present government is much more cooperative with any efforts to solve this, because it is determined to try and solve this matter as quickly as possible. Sri Lanka has been through 30 years of civil war before reaching the situation, and there were almost a lakh of people killed in that country. And now they have been enjoying the fruits of peace, and they hope to make good progress on it.
Do you think Sri Lanka is apprehensive of the fact that its image might get tarnished at the international platform?
They are naturally a small country, and they depend a great deal on tourists and others, and they would not like to tarnish the image. That's another reason why they're cooperating, and they've also been assured by the UN that the inquiry, any inquiry ever conducted by the UN, with their permission will always be in a manner that is not inimical to them. That is, it is not carried out in a manner which deliberately proves them to have been complicit in genocide.
Thank you, Mr. Jha. Moving on, devotees across the country of Nepal are celebrating the holiest month of the Hindu calendar, Shravan, with utmost dedication and reverence, with people thronging the religious sites and temples to seek the blessings of Lord Shiva.
Thousands of pilgrims and locals queued up as early as 2 on Monday morning in auspicious Shravan month to get a glimpse of Lord Shiva at Pashupatinath temple, one of the most sacred temples for the devotees of Lord Shiva. According to Hindu mythology, Lord Shiva is the ruling deity of Monday, and the Mondays of Shravan month are even more auspicious as the mythological event of Samudra Manthan, churning of ocean, took place in the same month when Lord Shiva displayed his might by consuming all the poison that came out of it. Various rituals carrying different prominence were performed in the temple premises. Devotees offer panchamrit, a mixture of milk, curd, butter or ghee, honey and jaggery, and seek blessings of God.
साउन महिना चाहिँ शिवजीको महिना हो भन्ने जुन प्रचलन छ नेपालमा त्यसै अनुरूप मैले चाहिँ नि साउन महिनामा चाहिँ नि माछा मासु नखाने र हरेक साउनको हरेक सोमबार चाहिँ नि व्रत बस्दै आइरहेको छु र व्रत बस्दाले आफ्नो स्वास्थ्यलाई पनि राम्रो अनि धर्म कर्ममा पनि इन्ट्रेस्ट भएको हुनाले चाहिँ नि यो बस्ने प्रचलन छ त्यो प्रचलन अनुसार मैले पनि त्यही गर्दै आइरहेको छु.
In another Hindu predominant country, India, hundreds of thousands of Shiva devotees observe the month of Shravan, also known as Sawan, with great reverence. People worship Lord Shiva by offering milk and bale leaves. The trifoliate-shaped leaves, which signify Lord Shiva's 3 eyes, as well as the 3 spokes of the Lord's Trishul, are considered very auspicious and since have a cooling effect, are offered to soothe the hot-tempered deity.
आज सोमवारी है, सावन का पहला सोमवारी है और यहाँ दर्शन उत्तम है. 12 ज्योतिर्लिंग में सबसे श्रेष्ठ लिंग है. बाबा विश्वनाथ की कृपा है, जो इनका दर्शन करता है उनको सुखमय पूंजीपति पर परिवार सुखमय रहता है.
Devout Hindus observe an auspicious pilgrimage called Kanwar Yatra, in which they undertake journey to Hindu pilgrimage centers to collect Ganga water, which they subsequently offer in local Lord Shiva temples.
The festival also holds a special significance for women who observe fasts in the hope to get a husband like Lord Shiva. With the arrival of Shravan month, also begin a number of auspicious festivals and events like Haryali Teej, Nag Panchami and Raksha Bandhan. On that note, I take your leave. See you next week. Take care and goodbye.